Yes, this is boxing fan UncleTboxing. We're here in London Bridge at George Kelly and David Avines's press conference. Um, Before the press conference started, I wasn't expecting this. All I saw was a few welterweights. It just got my mouth watering. I mean, just when I was thinking we haven't got that much exciting welterweights, and here we've got a few on the table, and I was just trying to size them up while each one of them was speaking, and how everyone was trying to look at each other, engage each other. How did you feel?
I love the welterweight division, always have done. Worldwide, it's always been a phenomenal one, certainly in the last decade or so. The likes of your Mayweathers and now your Spencers and your Crawfords and Pacquiao's and Khans and Brooks. And, it's been brilliant. And, it's that sort of division, isn't it? It's got so much history. And also, you can bang pretty hard at welterweight, but you've also got the brilliant skills and the movement and the speed. So it's a great division. Look, it's a fantastic top of the bill. I'm really, really pleased this fight's come together. It's bigger now than it was 14, 15 months ago. I was devastated when it was called off on the day. I thought it was a really intriguing fight. I spent a lot of time with Carl Greaves and David Avenessian about how they fancied this fight, and we all wanted to see whether Josh Kelly could sort of rise up to that occasion. But look, it's got even bigger because David's form in the last sort of 12 months has been incredible. Josh has been a little bit bumpy. He's had some really big fights, some exposure, and I think by his own admission probably hasn't had the dazzling performances that he hoped for. But that's fine. It's all a learning process. It's an education. There's many people that believe Josh Kelly has got the skills and the ability and the class to go the whole way to win a world title. It is a very difficult division, as we've said, and this is a very difficult fight. Not surprised he starts as the betting underdog. A lot of people I've spoken to feel David will have too much experience and power and aggression and maybe sort of knowledge at this stage for Kelly. But I don't know. I'm not so sure. Josh Kelly has got brilliant skills, and maybe it needs a fight of this magnitude to bring out the best in him. Adam is a wise old sage. I've been around Adam Booth for many, many years. He's done wonders with David Hay and George Groves and Andy Lee, and he keeps telling me Josh Kelly's the best of the lot. And maybe we haven't seen it. We've seen it in patches and cameos, I think, over the last couple of years, but maybe we haven't seen that one defining performance. So that's what they'll be expecting. But as you see, David Avenessian, he's hungry, he's talented, he's got more experience as a pro. He's got those great wins for the European title and over Shane Mosley, WBA regular champion. He's bringing a lot to the table here. But I think Josh Kelly brings a lot in terms of pure ability, belief, and if you can put a performance on the night on March the 28th, he can go on and become a superstar. But it's a big if.
Conor Ben, how do you feel when he speaks the way he speaks? What was your thoughts around? He sounds, like he's ready to fight anyone right now.
You've got to love Conor Ben, haven't you? He's a great character. He came on the ringside set actually a few years ago. I think he was 15 or 16 at the time, and we were doing a big special with his dad. And his dad halfway through said, "You want to watch him? He gives me problems." And there was Conor he was standing in the ring on the set, and we didn't know much about him really. I mean, he didn't have much amateur experience. He was a bit of a tearaway, I think. But when he came on, obviously with the name, you take note. But I think it's been great because Nigel's stepped back. He's let Conor get on with it with Tony Sims, and what you see with Conor is just immense dedication. He's had his problems. He's had his injuries, his hand trouble. He's had the Payno fight. He's had people saying he's not going to make it at that anywhere near the level of his dad. Well, look, he's going about trying to prove people wrong. But what you get with Conor Ben is you get excitement. He talks a good game, but he fights good as well, and he loves it. He absolutely loves it. I don't think he knows how far he'll go. We certainly don't. Will he become a British, a European, a world champion? That's all in the future. I mean, he's got the dedication and the hunger, and he's got ability. So he could go a long way, but then he could get unstuck. But you know what he says? If I get knocked down, I'll get back up again. And you've got to love his attitude. I think he does extremely well for us on Sky Sports News, Sky Sports Digital, social. I think people are interested in Conor Ben, and whether you love him or hate him, you're going to watch him. So I'm certainly in the. I love to watch him, and I love to be around him. He's a breath of fresh air, and he says what he believes in.
Well, I just say that the girl on the card, Ellie Scotney, I've watched her in the GB. She's very, very good.
She's very talented.
We aim for a treat. She goes down to the body, which a lot of girls don't. And
she's a bit of an all-round
yeah,
fighter.
yeah,
She's very good, and I think what a time to be joining the party. I mean, women's boxing, it's boxing now, isn't it? It's not just women's boxing, because it's been phenomenal. You know, you remember the days of Jane Couch, who was a sort of pioneer and never got the sort of credit I don't think that she deserved, but there were never the matches at that time. There was never the money in it, and now Katie Taylor has just completely changed everything. You know, she's a phenomenon, and you see Clarissa Shields and all the other real talent coming in throughout the world. And now you've got Terry Harper with that amazing story the other night. Savannah Marshall, our former scholar, fighting for a world title in Newcastle. You know, you've got Chantel Cameron, who was with us ringside. You've got Shannon Courtney. You've got so many out there, and this is a really good opportunity for her, because you know people are talking about it. I mean, even across the sports. You know, Fallon Sherrick last night in the darts. You know, taking Glenn Durrant all the way. I mean, it was brilliant. You know what she did in the Worlds, and I think this is a fantastic time. And on Sky Sports, we're really pushing women's sport hugely. The netball, the cricket, everything. And I think for boxing, it's a phenomenal time to be a lady with skill sets. And we know she was in Team GB, and we hope she's got a really exciting future, because so many of them seem to have.
I'm looking forward to it. When did you find out about Josh Warrington?
Let's just say I wasn't very happy with Eddie, and I'm normally really happy with him. You know, when I'm not happy with him, I tell him. You know, it's we speak every day pretty much, and you know, occasionally I've got, you know, I'm not happy with something, I'll tell him, and I'm very happy with this fight, so I'll tell him I'm very happy with this fight. I didn't know about Josh Warrington. I was in a meeting on Wednesday afternoon. I came out, and you know, actually people were telling me, saying, now Josh is with Matchroom. What are we? You know, I'm thinking, well, hang on a minute. What's going on here? And Eddie's like, I told them to tell you before it was announced, and all of that. But look, it was a confidentiality thing. It was a closed thing. I did have a chat with Steve Wood a few weeks ago, and I sort of hoped that maybe something would happen. But look, Frank Warren has done an amazing job with Josh. You know, we lost him when we did, and it was a sort of, he was on a little bit of a merry-go-round in Leeds. You know, it was great nights, but he wasn't really fighting anybody. And then, you know, to be fair to Frank, he's gone and delivered some massive fights with Lee Selby and Carl Frampton and Kid Galahad, and you know, he's gone from strength to strength. So well done to Frank and his team. Now to have him back is brilliant, because I really like Josh, and we had some great fun together. I think he's a great family guy. He's got a good story. The dental technician, the kid from the estate, hands out his own ticket still. You know, I'd love to see him fight maybe one more big one in Leeds in the summer, and then take him to America, fight the unifications. So I think it's a great signing for Matchroom, for Eddie, and for us. And you know, it's when Eddie's got his back to the wall sometimes, and people say, oh, you know, come on, you know, one or two, and you know, the stable needs him. Look what he does. You know, he's a brilliant promoter, and that's why we've enjoyed working with him for so long. And you know, 95% of our chats are amicable and friendly and great, and we've got an amazing relationship. But I was really annoyed with him on Wednesday that I didn't know. But that's fine. The fact is, some surprises are good, and it was a really good surprise.
That was a good surprise, I'm sure. And the announcements we've had so far, there's going to be a lot of excitement, especially with the heavyweights, and it looks as if we might have a record of pay-per-views, Skybox obviously, this year. I mean, there's the Dylan Whites, there's the Derek Chisora, there's Anthony Joshua obviously, and there's no, the other two is in BT spots with Joe Joyce.
Yeah, there won't be any sort of record. We're not looking at anything like that. What we are looking at is when there's a big event, and it's merited on Sky Sports box office. That's when we look at it. Nothing's been announced at the moment. We're looking at the Usyk Chisora fight. We're looking at Dillian, obviously. We're looking at Anthony Joshua, of course. And they're all, you know, they're all there or thereabouts. You know, I'm sure there'll be big announcements in the next 2 or 3 weeks. I'm very keen on getting Anthony Joshua to Tottenham. I've said it a number of times.
Why not Liverpool? Why don't he fight?
I don't think that's the right. I think
in a stadium of champions, because Liverpool are going to win it, aren't they? So
listen,
it's only right.
Listen, we met Billy Hogan a few months ago, and we were talking about Callum Smith at Anfield, and you know, Callum had a difficult fight with John Ryder, and now he's possibly looking at Canelo, but we don't know what we've heard overnight. And so, look, it's, you know, I think Anfield is ready and right for Callum Smith to defend his world title, maybe against the likes of Canelo or Billy Joe or Golovkin or Eubank, and then maybe you've got Liam Smith and Kell Brook on the card, and then maybe you can get Steve in a world title fight or a very good fight, and maybe even get Paul out of retirement and put David Price on. I can definitively see that happening. And yes, of course, with Liverpool, my team, going to win the league, it would be right to do it now. But for AJ, I think he needs to fight in London. I think it's very important for me. I think for him, for all of his team, for Eddie, for everybody, that he's had a couple of years away. He needs to fight in Britain. And I think, look, I went to Tottenham, Liverpool. I took my daughter there. We got the points, so we're happy with that. Also had a good look around and got to meet Daniel Levy. And I was to say I was impressed with the stadium is a massive understatement. I think it is the best stadium I've seen. I think we've been around the world with boxing. I think it's an absolutely phenomenal stadium. I think it takes it to a different level. I think everything, the seats everywhere is a terrific view. I think the fact they've got 2 pitches, the different changing rooms. I think the hospitality is out of this world. My daughter couldn't believe there were sort of flat screens in the toilets. In everywhere you look, there's just it's incredible. And I think for someone like Anthony Joshua, who's won his world titles, he did it. He went back in with Andy Ruiz, and now it's not a celebration because Kubrat Pulev is a really hard fight. It's a real tough mandatory fight, and he's got to be absolutely on spot. Anthony Joshua, but from a showcase point of view, from getting him back in Britain, I'd love to see it happen at Tottenham. I hear the Emirates have come in, great stadium, Arsenal, fantastic. We very nearly did Froch Groves there before we went to Wembley, so Arsenal's a great stadium. I just feel, for me, Tottenham's the new thing, the business, and I think that it's a great community around there. I think Anthony could really shine there, and I'd love that to land in June in Tottenham. But we wait and see. It's not up to me. It's there's talks and contracts going on behind the scenes. So, but I put my sort of pitchfork in the sand for that one. I'd love to see Callum Smith fight at Anfield. But yeah, there's huge fights out there. Dillian Whyte coming back, Usyk Chisora, and of course, as you mentioned, the 2 BT box office fights. Wilder and Fury is a huge fight next week. It's a massive fight. I'm hoping to get to Vegas for it. Listen, it's a fight that had to happen. It's a fight I felt Tyson Fury won last time, but Deontay Wilder's been on unbelievable form with his knockout power. It's a game. It's a pick'em. That's what we want to see. Dubois and Joyce, another one. Who's going to win that? These are the fights we want to see. Whatever channel they're on, fight fans deserve this, and you can't make them every week, but the more weeks you make them, the better.
Would you have winning Joe Joyce, Dubois, and Fury Wilder?
Yeah, they're good question. It's a good question. I mean, probably my gut, like most, is with Daniel Dubois on that fight against Joe Joyce. But Joe, I know well. He's a very tough campaigner. He's really hard, and I tell you what, he's got a lot more experience in many ways than Daniel Dubois. From the amateurs, and I just think. He's been to Rio. I think he's sparred with a lot of. I don't know. Dubois might be special. Dubois might be very special. I've liked what he's done so far. I think he looks like he's going to go the whole way and fight for a world title at some point. Joe Joyce gets hit a bit too much, but for me, he's got a great engine. He's got a fantastic heart. He's tough to nail. Fully, he's easy to hit but tough to nail down, and if Dubois doesn't get rid of him, it could get interesting after sort of 5 or 6 rounds. But I think I'd lean with Dubois for that one. But a tough call. And I know a lot of people going for Joe Joyce. So yeah, I mean it's a 50-50 fight in many ways, like Wilder and Fury. There's a bit of me that leans towards Wilder because he'll hit him at some point, that knockout power. But Fury got up last time, and I thought Fury won the fight last time. He's got the skills to make Deontay look, to very average at times, and I think if he can continue doing that, not sure I like the Fury by knockout prediction, or whether that's just smoke and mirrors. But I think he'd be best served to utilise what he's got best, which is his skill set, his size, his reach, his natural boxing ability. And for Deontay, we know it could be lights out at any moment. That's why it's such a fascinating fight. And although we don't have it, we're not broadcasting it on Sky, it's on BT, and we wish them well. We fought hard for it.
And for you guys, they're charging us 25 quid.
well, we're not in charge of that. That's BT's decision. But you know what? We are sending a Sky Sports News camera. We're going to be talking about the fight. It's got huge ramifications about what happens next. Will there be a third? Will Anthony Joshua fight? The winner or the loser, or what will happen? I think for Joshua, we need to find the Kubrat Pulev fight, get that over the line. Alexander Usyk and Derek Chisora. There's huge fights out there. Dillian Whyte and Povetkin. There's a lot happening in the heavyweight division. But what we all want to see is Wilder or Fury v Joshua at some point. And I'll make the trip over next week and see if we can get any closer to one of those happening.
I heard a podcast with Paul Byron was asked a hypothetical question, like, what if it comes to a stage if they both keep on winning, they have to face each other, Joshua and think, how would the setup be? And he said it just goes down to the biggest bidder.
We're talking about Joshua and
Joshua
Fury.
and Fury, yeah.
Yeah. Listen, it's ultimately, money talks, and we all know that Saudi Arabia, for example, have huge money, and we went over there with Joshua for the rematch. It's going to happen in Cardiff, could have happened in New York. We just have to wait and see. But also fighters make decisions too, and Anthony Joshua, he wants to fight in Britain. He could have gone back to Saudi Arabia, he could have gone to America, he could have fought probably for much bigger money in other territories, but he wants his next fight to be in Britain, and I think that's a really good sign. But yeah, the super fights, we know there's going to be competition from all around the world, and you wouldn't be a good manager or a good promoter if you're not getting the best deal for your fighters. So ultimately, we have to wait and see whether the big fights happen, but the most important thing is that they happen.
Okay, Adam, thanks for your time.
No problem at all.
Your new job title.
Yeah, so it's quite similar really for as far as externally it goes. I'm the head of boxing development now at Sky. What I've done is I've moved into the commercial team, so I work for the deputy managing director Jonathan Lisht, and we're working now on all the big fights and the deals. Obviously, we've got a long-term contract with Eddie Hearn, which Matchroom, which comes to an end next year. So we've got to look to be renewing that and working on that. We've got to look to our relationship with Anthony Joshua, which again sort of runs the same sort of course, but we've been with him from the very beginning. So a lot of things to look at there, and obviously there's the likes of PBC and Top Rank and other promoters that want to come and set up in Britain. There's DAZN. We'll have to look and see what they're doing, and so there's a lot happening in that world. The Olympics this year, of course, and see what happens with Team GB and the Irish, and there's a lot. Obviously, women's boxing is developing at a huge rate. There's the YouTube, so there's a lot of changes in boxing. So I want to have my feet really on the ground and be out and about, working on that. I'll still be lead commentating on the big fights. What I'm leaving behind is Ed Robinson's production team, which will be under Multisports, under a lady called Georgie Faulkner, who directs that. So the production element will be on the day-to-day level. The boxing team will be dealt with by them, and I'll be making sure that what they do their magic with, I'll make sure that we get the best fights and the best nights for Sky, and I'll be rejoining them for the big nights. So yeah, and I'll be doing a lot more work with the scholars and the wider business as well. So it's a role I've wanted for a long time. It's a role I've asked for, and fortunately I've got it, and I'll be on in the commercial team, and I've already started. I'm really enjoying it.
Adam, thanks for speaking to
No problem at all.
And all the best in the future.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thanks.